Bruchim Abayim Der Chabura, going through Kol Torah Kula, as we are being led by the Rambam one Perek a day, the entire Torah Shebal Peh, and we are in Sefer Ava discussing all the mitzvahs and all the Takanos Chachamim anchored into our day throughout the entire Torah Shebal Peh, in order that we maintain our love for the Eibishter. And we are in the series of Allah Tefilla, Birchas Kohanim, and we are actually the last two prakim, now zeroing into the dinim of Birchas Kohanim. Zok the Rambam. We know it's a mitzvah d'oraisa, right? Kois Baruch Hu's bnei Yisrael amar lahem. You should tell Aaron, you should tell his sons that they should bench the yidden. Now, which tefillas do they bench Birchas Kohanim? Zok the Rambam Perek Yudalad Halacha Aleph b'Shachris b'Musaf u'Benila. In the morning, tefillah Musaf, which is on Shabbos and Yom Tov and Rosh Chodesh, u'Benila on fast days, which is the tefillah that's right before Ne'ilas Hashar, right before Shkia. Now, Hakoyin Reisim Eskapeim, in those tefillahs, the Kohanim are allowed to duchen, to raise their hands and bless the Yidden. However, b'mincha ein asiyas kapayim. Why not? That's the afternoon prayer, and at that point, everybody is already eaten, and we're afraid intoxicated is not allowed to duchen, as it's written. Yeah, it says Yain v'Shecher al Teisht, and it says it about the Kohanim. He's not allowed to do his avodah, and which includes also Birchas Kohanim, which is one of the avodas, as we'll see later on. And afilu b'yom hataynis, l'chora mincha on a day of a fast, on a fast day. What's the big deal? They didn't need anything. Still, also on a fast day, loy plug. So he said, "Ein nice gabei b'mincha gzeira minchas taynis b'pnei minchas kol yom." We're afraid the mincha of a fast day, due to the mincha of every day. And we're afraid that a mincha, if you let them do duchening on a mincha of a fast day, they may come to do it every day, and at that point they may be shtuya yain to make us doing the avodah kilu. Halacha beis. In which case did we say that you're not allowed to duchen by mincha b'tainis mispal by mincha ne'ilah in a fast day that includes mincha and ne'ilah, like Yom Kippur, kigoyin Yom Kippur b'tainis tzibur, in which cases they would do a ne'ilah. But a fast day that does not include a fifth tefillah called ne'ilah. Going, for example, Tisha B'Av and Shivasa B'Tammuz. In that case, being that the mincha they would daven close to the end, everyone would gather and show close to the end of the fast day, say mincha, and with Kriyas Torah and Anenu, and then move into Ma'ariv. So being that mincha is so late, it seems like it's ne'ilah, and we're not afraid that this will be michlaf and otu, a different regular mincha, that if you allow them this mincha, they'll come to do it on every day, and every day they might be after eating and etc. We're not afraid, and therefore they are allowed to, in that case, daven duchen by mincha, because it's a late mincha. But in mischalav is mincha shkoyim, or the fiqh when it says kabayim, they are allowed to duchen on Tisha B'Av and on Shivasa B'Tam. Maybe there's a problem with his lineage, and he's not a proper kohen. Maybe he's a chal done big vuln, which means outside of the Beis Hamikdash. When the kohen gadol reaches the tefillah, the bracha of avodah, namely ritzei. When he says the word ritzei, all the kohenim in shul must uproot, start walking from the place where they were standing, and head towards the duchen. This is assuming they washed down, otherwise they have to go wash. The oindim sham, and they stand there. However, they're still not facing the they're facing pneim laheichal. They're facing where the Sefer Torah is. The achareim klape the back is facing the people. That's by saying their fingers are clenched, are folded into their fists. We'll soon see when they get to the bracha. At that point, they spread it out. Once the chazan completes haida'ah, the tefillah of maidim, then machzirim pneim klape they turn around and they face the nation. And upoishtim, as by saying these fingers that were clenched, they spread out. We know how it's supposed to be done. And they raise their hands towards on the height of their shoulders. I want to make mention of two details. One is, according to the Rambam, the Makri doesn't read the first word. It doesn't seem like from the Rambam the one that's reading and telling them, Amor Lohem, as we'll soon see, or Medaik from the pasuk, that it's told to them and they respond the words Yivarechecha. That's all in the rest of the words of the brachas, the Birchas Kohanim, the next three brachas. But the first word Yivarechecha they don't, and maybe it's because the Rambam holds that Maskifin, the bracha that they just made, they should right away start the mitzvah, and it's a hefsek to listen. That's one detail. Another detail is a side nekuda. The fact that they're facing with their back towards the Aron Kodesh is not a problem because it's eset tfachim off the ground. The Sefer Torah is off the ground. It's like a rishus la'atzmai. Anyways, back to our inyan. They start Yivarechecha. Shliach tzibur makra is a milah. After which the chazan reads word for word. Vein oinim, and they respond to the chazan. Or as we'll see in certain cases, let's say if the chazan is also kohen and he's also duchening, then someone else is the one reading it for them. And the Rambam is going to conclude this perek saying it's better, maybe it should be a Yisrael, the chazan should be a Yisrael, because Amar Lahem, it sounds like someone outside, other than kohenim, is the one telling them. So Shneimar Amar Lahem ad sheyoymar, till he tells them, and he says word for word, Okshem Ashlim and Pasuk Rishayin, Kolam Einim Amen. When he concludes the first pasuk, everyone says Amen. Then the chazan again starts reading the second pasuk. They respond word for word after the chazan. When they conclude the second pasuk, when they conclude all three psukim, he starts the last bracha of the 19 brachas. We're asking the Eibishter to grant and place peace. At that point, when he starts Sim Shalom, they turn back around from facing the congregation, from facing the tzibur, the community, and now they're facing also the amud. The koivtzim etzbay sayim, they again clench their fingers into their palm. Until he concludes the bracha of Sim Shalom. They do not return to their places until he finishes Sim Shalom. Now, Eina makra rasha lahakris lakoyanim. The makra, whether it's the chazan or someone else telling them the next word to say, is not allowed to start the next pasuk until the entire congregation finishes saying amen on the first pasuk and bracha. And this goes for any of the words that the makra, the one that's reading it for them, and they're repeating after him until the word has left his mouth clearly. There's like a space between them, and then they start. The tzibur doesn't start amen until they conclude the pasuk. V'yishmerecha, v'chuneka. They fear all the kohanim finished, and they answer amen. And they can't start the next bracha. Here's again mashma that the beginning of the next bracha they start without the makra. They can't start the next bracha until amen is heard from everybody from the entire tzibur. Very interesting halacha. The chazan generally is not allowed to answer amen after the bracha of the kohanim, even if he's a Yisrael and he wants to be included in the brachas. We're afraid Shema Titar Daita, maybe he's going to get mixed up. Generally, a person keeps track of the last words he just said, so he knows he just finished Vichoneka, so then he's going to start Isa. But if he says amen after the kohanim, the chazan, he forgets which bracha he just finished. What's the next bracha? Being pasuk sheni, pasuk shlishi. Now, the kohanim are not allowed to turn back around from the public until the shliach tzibur actually starts sim shalom. They're not allowed to leave the duchan, which is the place where duchan really means platform. We say duchening because they go up. By us, it's not on a higher space necessarily. They put a shatiach, they put a rug or a carpet for the kohanim. So they're not allowed to leave their place until concludes that bracha, as I said earlier. And they can't clench again their fingers. They have to remain spread out until they are completely turned away from the tzibur. Ezra, the takana of Ezra Sofer, he was metakan shlo yalo kohanim leduchan b'sandaleim. They should not come up with their sandals. They stand barefoot or with their socks, and the reason was maybe it's going to rip one of the sandals, and they'll get stuck doing that, and they won't go up, and they'll be chayshid in them. Halacha zayin. Now, throughout the brachas, what's happening with the people? How do you accept gracefully the brachas of the Eibishter being drawn down to us through the kohanim, as the Alter Rebbe expands at length in L'Kutei Torah. Aaron is Oisius Nira. The koyach of the Kohanim is to bring down the brachas in the way that it's begilui and it overpasses all the oilamos. So how do the people stand? When the Kohanim are benching the nation, the Kohanim shouldn't be steering, looking at the nation. Hence, they also need to make sure that they don't get distracted. Their eyes are towards the floor, like they're davening, even though they're actually referring to the people in front of them. That's the way they should be looking. In turn, the people are the people shouldn't look them in the eye when they're benching the nation. So the Kohanim don't get distracted. Their intention is to hear the bracha, and they're facing the direction of the Kohanim. They don't look into their faces. In this case, we said Emor Lohem. When do we ask? Before we were saying Emor Lohem is that every word should be responded after somebody. There's another limud that the Gemara learns from Emor Lohem is that they should be called up to start Birchas Kohanim. Emor Lohem, like tell them to start benching. And that is only when there's Lohem, there's a few Kohanim. And therefore, when there's many Kohanim, you'll hear the Chazan say Kohanim, and then everyone says Am K'dei Shachar Amar, and they'll start the bracha. That means they were hence invited, or lahem. But that's when it's lahem. If it's just one kohen, so then the chazan will start the kohen will just start the bracha. So imay kohen hamevarach echad maschil varach ma'atzma. He just starts the bracha without being invited publicly. Ushliach tzibur makros mil. However, the other amar lahem does exist. He still is read and responds word for word. If there's two or more kohanim, until the kohanim call the shliach tzibur, the chazan calls upon them and says kohanim, in which case they'll respond, may you be blessed. I'll say the shaman, and he'll tell them, and they'll respond to him word for word. Now, this is all big vulin. This is all outside of the Beis HaMikdash. In the Beis HaMikdash, it was a whole different avodah. How was it done in the Beis HaMikdash? The Kohanim went. There's three madrigas between the Ezras. There's the Ezras Nashim. Then they go up the 15 Shira Maila steps. Chatzi Goyer Nagula, the 15 steps which were used for Simchas Beis HaShe'eva. Then they go through Shar Nikonar, as all of us know. We learn in Hilchos Beis HaBchira. Now's the time. Shkacha Pratis. The day after Shavuos B'Tammuz, we start learning Hilchos Beis HaBchira. They go up the steps and they go through Shar Nikonar. Then there's Ezras Yisrael, 11 amas by 175 amas, and there's three steps on top of which there's a duchen. I think this day said it's the other way around. There's a duchen, and on top of it is the three steps. Actually, they stand up there on that podium, and that's where they will bench. So oil duchen. After they conclude the avodah of the korban Tamid Shel Shachar, the morning sheep burnt offering. Here, unlike we said earlier, Bigvulin, it's connected Kisfeim, the height of their shoulders. Here it's above their heads, aside from the Kohen Gadol. Their fingers are spread out. Chutz mikoyin Gadol. Besides the Kohen Gadol, he doesn't raise his hands above the Shem HaMeforesh, which is inscribed in his tzitz. One person reads it before them, as it's done big volin, and here it's not part of a tefillah, right? It's not like done in the middle of Chazar Sashat. There was a basic knesses on the Harabais. This was its own avodah Birchas Kohanim. So the person that read before him, unlike in volin, in the Beis HaMikdash, they only answered Amen after the third pasuk, and only answered a fancy type of Amen, which was answered only in the Beis HaMikdash. It was done as one bracha when they conclude the entire three psukim, after which we're going to make it one Amen, like one big bracha. Kolam Einim Baruch Hashem Elokim. Blessed is the Eibishter, the God, Elokei Yisrael Menachem Adolam, the God of Israel forever and ever. Halacha Yud. The Oimer, when they say Yivarechecha Hashem, they don't say the regular lashon. Rather, they say Shem HaMeforesh, and the Rambam is going to describe what he considers Shem HaMeforesh. V'Oimer Hashem Kiksava. He says the name as it's written, which is Yud Kei Vav Kei. V'Hu Hashem HaNehege Mi Yud Kei Vav Kei. It's the word that would be expressed having a look at the letters Yud Kei Vav Kei. We know Kabbalah is different different nikuds for them. And that's the Shem HaMefarish. Now, how to say it properly, we don't know. In the Medina, it means outside of Eretz Yisrael, we say him as his Kivyachol, the nickname. We don't mention the Abish's name as it's written, only in the Beis HaMikdash. Says the Rambam even more than that. Which is the Talmud of Ezra Sofer. He, from those days, even in the Beis HaMikdash, they stopped saying Shem HaFarish. It should not be learned, and hence why they're used by somebody that's not chashav, not a respected person. Shein Hagan is not befitting to be saying such a name. Hence, how would they remember Shem HaMefarish? So they would teach it to their students. If there comes a time that Yidden are befitting, so then you'll say it again. So they would teach it, and even that's scarce. Once in 7 years, which is a Lashon Guzma, once in a very long time. Kol zeh. This was not Rahman Islam eliminate a mitzvah that was done by Migdash with its own way. Rather, Gdula l'shmoya nichmad v'anoira. It's the greatness of the Eibish's name that we're careful in how it's done. Now, halacha yud aleph. Birchas Kohanim nemas b'chol makom ela b'lashon hakodesh. Unlike other tefillas that we said could be done in the lashon of their place, this has to be done only b'lashon hakodesh, only in the holy tongue. Shenamar, as the pasuk says, "Koyse baruch hu b'nei Yisrael." So is the way the Yidden should be blessed. Kach lamdim P14 and P14. We learned Torah about teaches us a whole bunch of limodim of Koyse baruch hu. What are they? Koyse baruch hu. This is the way. It tells you ba'amida. It should be done standing. Koyse baruch hu in this way is b'nesias kapayim, with raised hands, and you're revealing your palms. Koyse baruch hu should be specifically lashon hakodesh. Koyse baruch hu panim keneged panim. They should be facing each other. And Koyse baruch hu b'kol ram, it should be done out loud. Koyse baruch hu when it's in the Beis HaMikdash, b'shem HaMefarish, when it's done with the Shem HaMefarish, v'hushiyah b'mikdash k'may shaman. Halacha yud beis ein ha'koyin rashanim b'chol makom. The koyinim are not able in every place in the world, anywhere. L'hoyse bracha al shleish psukim. Not allowed to add a pasuk to these 3 psukim kegoyim. They can't start going fancy, even if it's a pasuk. To say, oh, let me add another pasuk. Kegoyim Hashem alekei v'seichem. Hashem, the God of your fathers, Yosef Aleichem, should add, duplicate, multiply you, etc. Elef Pamim, hundreds, thousands of times. You can't create they can't add this not out loud and not in silence. Neither of them. Do not add it. In the time that every kohen goes up to the duchen, to the platform to bench, is when he uproots his feet heading there. He says the following bracha. May it be the will. He davens that this bracha should go. It's befitting, right? As a daven far daven, and he davens the Eibishter that the daven be surpassed. Even for them, daven a bracha. So they daven to the Eibishter. May it be the will before you, Hashem Elokeinu. Shetia bracha zush to be son ol levarach zamcha Yisrael. This bracha that you've commanded us to bench the Yidden, bracha shlema, complete bracha. Ba michshel. There should not be any stumbling on my behalf, says the Kohen. Va'aved, any sin that holds back me'atav from now on for all eternity. The Kohen she'achs upon all before he turns his face to the nation to bench them, he says the following: Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu, Baruch atah Hashem, blessed are you, the Eibishter, the God of our God, the God of the universe. Asher kitshanu shel Aaron, you have sanctified us in the with the holiness of Aaron. B'tzivanu, you commanded us levarach Am Yisrael, to bless your nation, the Yidden be'ava, out of love. He turns his face towards the congregation, and he starts benching. Now, at the end, he also has a tefillah to ask. And I was going to ask, I should also be included in the bracha. What's with me? What's with Zayim Etuns? He says, we've done Eibishter what you have commanded, decreed upon us. Now do with us as you have promised us. You'll gaze down from your abode, in your holy abode in the heavens, and bless your nation, the Yidden, which means Sai, they'll fill in the bracha. And Sai, that's one of the taichin. Vani Avarochem is the Eibishter says, and I'm going to bench you the Kohen. Or this means like they're saying over here, Vani Avarochem, I'm going to bench, fill in for your bracha. Now, when they turn their face back to the tzibur from their cleansed. Now they're spreading it out. When the Kohanim told them after they finished the bracha and they're about to start Yibrachecha, where after they finish benching and the chazan starts Sim Shalom and they're turning around, both of them, when they turn, they should turn towards their right. Okay, so from the right side, that's how they should turn to face the people and turn back towards our Kodesh, also through their right. The point is a general rule of thumb. Any time a person turns, for example, if a person is going around, he's coming in onto Har Bayis and he wants to go into the Beis HaMikdash specific door he's supposed to be coming through, so he starts from his right and makes the circle around. Always pointing lo you el derech yamin should be from the right side. The final halacha for today, Birchas Kohanim in the Mikdash, they would make Birchas Kohanim only once a day. Even though we said outside of the Beis HaMikdash, we'll only do Shachris, Mosaf, and Ne'ilah. But Mikdash they would stand on the steps of the Ulam. Oh, sorry. I take back what I said earlier. I said earlier it was done on the Duchan. Sorry, that's where the Levim would sing. Sorry. The Kohanim did it on the steps of the Ulam, going towards the Heichal. It means past the Mizbeach. My mistake. First of all, Medina, they do it after every davening. Aside from Tefillas Mincha, in all cases, that means signing the Beis HaMikdash, and even outside, we want, best case scenario, is that the one reading before them that they're responding to should be Yisrael. Shneimar Amar Lahem. Amar Lahem Mechlal, this indicates She'ein HaMakra Mehem, the Makra is not part of them. He is a Yisrael that's telling them, and therefore, we try it should be a Yisrael. Thank you so much for being with us. Dear Chabura Kol Torah Kula, as we cruise through the entire Torah Shabbat Peh, one Perek a day with the Rambam in our lead. Yisher Koyach to the entire tech team and for Mazel Tov on the new equipment. Shkoyach.